we're going to spend the last half hour talking about Nick Fuentes here, because this is something that I've been wanting to get to for a while. I've just been putting it off. So, I'm sure you all remember who Nick Fuentes is. He is a Nazi. Let me just make this a little smaller. We can make him into a small little man, because that's what he is. You could put him down there. He is a bona fide white nationalist, piece of human garbage. Also, apparently, is a devout Catholic. I'm not sure how people can square those two things. Not sure how you can square white supremacism with Catholicism. And also is a dyed-in-the-wool fascist. He's an out, mask-off fascist that lots of the fascists try to like hide their power level, is what they call it. You know, hide the fact that they're racist, hide the fact that they're fascists, or that they idolize Nazis, stuff like that. That's what they call that. They call that hiding their power level, right? Nick Fuentes doesn't bother hiding his power level. He just is just straight out, unabashedly proud of being a fascist. This little video here is his reaction to Donald Trump being arrested. And I wanted to cover this because that happened, roughly a month ago now. And other things have just been popping up. But I wanted to get to this response because this one, I think, is very, very telling about who this guy is. And I'm seeing, of course, the same kind of commentary coming from lots of various people on Reddit, on Twitter especially, right? Because this is the thing you got to remember, right? Oh, wow, I forgot to erase that. Okay, I should erase this inside of here. Here's the thing we got to remember about this, right? These influencers like Fuentes and others, their influence is on their followers is abnormally high, I guess is how you would put it, right? People that watch Nick Fuentes, people that watch other assorted conservative influencers like him, or say Ali Alexander, for example, right, or Tucker Carlson, something like that, or the TP USA guy, fucking Charlie Kirk. They kind of will end up sort of just parroting exactly what the influencer says. So if you see somebody like Charlie Kirk or whatever, or Nick Fuentes or something, come out with a certain political position, you can pretty much guarantee that people with that exact same position are going to then spread that around on social media, right? And it's part of how they shift the Overton window, is by their followers sort of spreading their messages around. They may say something ridiculous, right? They may say something like, we don't need, for example, we don't need women in STEM. That's one that I've seen recently. There's been a big push over the last, 6 or 7 years to get more women involved in STEM fields. Science, engineering, mathematics, and technology. I think that's what it stands for, STEM, right? There's been a big push there, and then you're starting to see this sort of counter push saying that women should not be involved in STEM, that kind of thing, right? And it's like, I think that came from fucking Charlie Kirk, I think, is where that came from. And now but what ends up happening is that you start seeing anonymous posters posting this shit on Reddit. You start seeing people like saying that same thing. They tweet it, they'll tweet that same thing. They'll get into debates and stuff like that with other people. And the idea is that it gets it out into the public consciousness, and after a few years of people repeating the same shit over and over, politicians will pick up on that. And then when laws get passed that sort of enact this agenda, it sounds normal. And that's an example of the Overton window being shifted. Another way that the Overton window is shifted in this country, which has had very large ramifications recently, is abortion. 20, 25 years ago, Republicans wouldn't touch abortion with a 10-foot pole. They wouldn't. I remember this. I remember thinking this back in the 90s when I was like, first getting politically active. I remember thinking like, they'll never touch abortion because it was so unpopular to do so that I always felt that it was like, I always thought that, they're never going to do it. It'll be political suicide. And for years and years, that's what it seemed like it was. It seemed like it was political suicide and that they would just talk a bunch of shit and then Republicans would get elected and then they would never do anything to actually, like, do anything against abortion. Well, now the Overton window has changed. And of course, yeah, they're still paying politically for messing with abortion, right? But in certain states, in certain areas, it's beneficial to them because the Overton window's changed. Because after 20 years of hammering that out, right, and repeating the same bullshit talking points over and over and getting their followers to do it for them, they've changed the political climate to make it beneficial for them to outlaw abortion. So that's why it's kind of important to follow what these fucking cretins say sometimes, right? It's like you should know, you should be informed of what your political opposition is doing, what they have in mind. If for only the fact that you can come up with effective counter strategies, if only for that fact, right? Because when Nick Fuentes said, whether we like it or not, whether you think, this guy's like a little slime ball or whatever, doesn't matter. Whether you like it or not, this guy has more influence than any of us do, right? When this guy says something, people listen. When this guy talks, it gets on the news, right? He's having dinner with ex-presidents. You remember Nick Fuentes was hanging out with fucking Kanye West and Milo, and they like went and had dinner with Donald Trump, stuff like that. This guy has influence, which is ridiculous because he's like, what? How old is this fucking dude? 24, something like that, right? He's got influence. He's got power. He's gonna be around forever. Unfortunately, spreading this horseshit until the day he dies. And even though the things he says are ridiculous and stupid, and you would think nobody with a brain would follow this asshole, we have to take what he says seriously. So that's why we're watching Nick Fuentes. Anyway, I feel like I need to justify why we're even bothering to like listen to this fucking dude, even just to debunk it. It's like, no, we need to. we should, this is part of what being politically active actually means. So anyway, this was shortly after Trump gets busted. And the first half hour of this, because this is fucking 2 hours long, so we're obviously not going through this whole thing. First half hour is just him being in denial, talking about how it's all politically charged and blah, 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 and that Trump didn't actually do anything, and et cetera, right? And how the whole thing is bullshit, et cetera. You know the story. You've heard it a million times from various conservative talking heads. It doesn't start getting interesting until around 2948, where he talks about charging the ex-president. So we're going to skip ahead to around 2948 and just start from there. I don't know if I can get it exactly at 2948. Close enough. 29, no. A little bit back. Let's see if I could just get it right there. 2933. Close enough. Let's start from here.
If he does something else that's really a low-level crime, some might say yes, I would say that's ridiculous. In this case, though, he got charged with felonies, and there's no felony case. So then we know that it's political. On the question, though...
That's incorrect, by the way. Donald Trump is being charged with felonies, and there are felony cases here, right? And specifically in the Stormy Daniels thing, right? Election campaign fraud is a felony. These are felony cases, right? So right off the bat, lies. But let's continue.
About charging Trump and him being above the law or something. Actually, yes, there is a different consideration for a former head of state. Absolutely. It's even different from a representative or even, I would say, a statewide office holder like a senator or a governor,
Okay.
because the president acts in the stead of the entire nation.
So he's going to explain to us. He's going to explain to us why we don't arrest former presidents. Okay. That's what he's explaining right now. Okay, please, Nick, enlighten us why it's okay for a former president to break the law. Let's rewind it just a little bit, all right? Let's rewind it about 5 seconds.
He got charged with felonies,
Right.
and there's no felony case. So then we know that it's political. On the question, though, about charging Trump and him being above the law or something, actually, yes, there is a different consideration for a former head of state. Absolutely. It's even different from a representative or even, I would say, a statewide office holder like a senator or a governor, because the president acts
Okay.
in the stead of the entire nation on the world stage.
Acts in the stead of the entire nation on the world stage. Okay. I don't see how that makes it okay for him to break the law, but let's continue.
The president acts on our behalf. The president, being delegated authority by the Constitution, is standing in as the sovereign of America. The idea that the sovereign of America would be put in jail or dragged before a court for a low-level misdemeanor or even a felony is a joke.
So here's the first thing. First thing, right, is that Donald Trump is not the president. When he committed this crime, he was not the president. He also is no longer the president, right? So he's not a sitting president. So you can make this argument that the leader of a country shouldn't be charged while they're leading the country. You can make that argument. In fact, that is the standing policy of the Department of Justice, the DOJ, is that they won't indict a sitting president. That's why Donald Trump got away with this shit for 4 years, right? But he is no longer the president, so he is no longer making decisions for the entire country, as Nick Fuentes says, right? So when you're no longer the president, you're not in that position of power. You don't have that privilege anymore. You are essentially just a normal citizen like everyone else. So why should he not be charged for some shit that he did before he became president, right? Because that's the other argument, right? The other argument is, well, he shouldn't be charged for things he did while being president, because then it makes other presidents afraid that if they're, whatever decision they make, right, may land them in jail. And the thing is, yes, presidents have to make crazy decisions. They have to make bad decisions. They have to make decisions that don't make sense. They have to make decisions you don't agree with. Barack Obama, for example, used a drone strike to kill an American citizen. Don't agree with that. That should be illegal. He should go to jail for that. I think there should be consequences for that. Because if you're an American citizen, you're supposed to get a trial. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you do. You should not just be executed without getting a trial. Even if they just try you in absentia, that should be how it works, right? Barack Obama just killed that guy. He was actually a dude who was like part of Al Qaeda, so designated him an enemy combatant. Just killed him with a drone strike, right? Donald Trump did the exact same fucking thing. So if you're gonna get on Obama for this, Trump did the exact same thing. In fact, Trump killed the same guy that Obama killed. Trump killed his son in a drone strike. And in the same thing, actually, and then I think he killed a 12-year-old girl who was also an American citizen. So Trump is guilty of this as well, right? But the president sometimes has to make decisions like that. What if there's some shit that we don't know about? What if there's, what if this guy, I don't know, was going to drop a nuclear weapon or something? We didn't know that was going to happen. And we still can't be allowed to know that happened because it's top secret for whatever reason. Maybe there's part of some ongoing thing. There's reasons why presidents shouldn't be arrested for shit that they do while they're the president. This is even why they didn't try to arrest him, when Trump fucking, for January 6th. Even though Congress investigated it and said, yeah, they should the DOJ did it. What is the first thing they did is they tried to impeach him again, right? Because he was technically still the president there, and that's what you do to presidents. You can't arrest them, you can impeach them. That's when you're the sitting president. He can be arrested now that he is no longer the president, because he no longer has that privilege. He's no longer making these types of decisions for the rest of us. He should no longer be shielded by the United States, right? By the United States government. So that's the first thing. Second little bit on this I've got from Nick Fuentes, where he talked about, the president is the sovereign of the United States. That's not true at all. That's bullshit. President is not the sovereign. A sovereign is like a king. Sovereign means basically someone who's that you pledge your loyalty to, like a king. Like they own it. That's the sovereign. Like God is the sovereign of the universe. The King of England is the sovereign of England. Shit like that, right? President is not the sovereign of any. President is an elected position, right? This idea that he should be allowed to get away with felonies, right? Misdemeanors and felonies because he's somehow like ordained by God to be the sovereign of it. Get the fuck out of my face with that shit. That's complete total bullshit of the highest, fucking stupid as hell. Has no basis in law, doesn't make any fucking sense. Let's move on.
There is a reason the Constitution says that the president can only be charged for high crimes. The president cannot be charged for little things when he's in office. He certainly should not be charged with those kinds of things when he's out of office. And it says...
Why? Why? Why not? So, okay, yes, high crimes and misdemeanors, right? First, the Constitution says you'll be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. It doesn't say that you'll be charged for them. So, but tell me the reason why, after he's out of office, that the president should not be tried for things that he committed when he was not president. Donald Trump was not the president when he got Michael Cohen to pay off Stormy Daniels, and then filed incorrect paperwork to get his fucking company to pay for it, instead of just paying for it himself. Like I said before in the videos there, if he just would have taken the money out of his own personal bank account, paid off Michael Cohen with it, wouldn't have been a problem, right? You don't have to report what you do with your own personal money to anybody. If you spend it on something that's not business related, you don't have to report that. You could go blow $10,000 on a fucking huge crystal platinum covered dildo. Nobody has to know what that is, right? He didn't do that. He tried to get his company to pay for it, because Donald Trump, for acting like a rich person, supposedly a billionaire, really doesn't seem to act like a rich person very much. Seems to act like a fucking poor person, always trying to take shit off his taxes that he's not allowed to, stuff like that, right? So that's what he tried to do. Tried to basically fucking claim it as a business expense, and filed paperwork which is against state law in New York, right? And then plus the fact that it was 2 weeks before an election, that amounts to a fucking illegal campaign contribution. That's where the fucking that's where the felonies come in. So it's horseshit. So that's what actually fucking happened. Why should he not be held accountable for that? Why is it okay? What reasoning do you have for someone who's no longer the president to be allowed to get away with shit like that? Doesn't make any sense.
Something very despicable about the institutions. It's almost like you want to talk about an attack on our democracy, to the extent that we have one. Attack on our republic. Forcing the president to go before a jury is an attack on the republic.
How?
The president was voted in by the people. The people voted for this man.
Wait, how? How is it an attack on democracy to hold a president accountable? How to Please explain this to me, Nick. Okay, so president was voted for by the people. Okay.
And in 2016, to become the president, 75 million people voted for him to be reelected.
He got the less amount of votes. Let's always remember that. Donald Trump did more people voted for Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump, right, in 2016. He got the least amount of votes. The man who got the least amount of votes became president. Never forget that. So I don't care. And then, 2020, 75 million people voted for him. Yeah, well, what, 83 million people voted for the other person? 84 million people voted for Joe Biden. So he got the least amount of votes. He lost. Right. In any decently run fucking country, he would have lost in 2016 as well. There should be no instance where the person who gets the least amount of votes becomes president. That should not be a thing that happens. But it happens in our country because our country is fucking backwards. Right? Because we live in a fucking banana republic. And that's why it's like somebody who loses gets a participation fucking trophy. Gets to go home as the winner. But how is the fact that it's so a shitload of people voted for him? Yes, okay. How does that make it an attack on democracy to hold him accountable when he breaks the law? Please explain that, Nick.
And in doing so, the people were voting for him to enforce the Constitution, which is our contract between the sovereign people and the government.
Okay.
The idea then that some district attorney in a liberal jurisdiction like that would drag this guy before the courts, especially while he's running, but even still, after the presidency, is a betrayal of the people. That's a betrayal of the republic.
How?
For a district attorney to say, this man that received 75 million votes, this guy that was voted in 2016, we're going to throw him in jail. We're going to put him before a jury of his peers, and we're going to throw him in jail for 4 years for a felony. Talk about an attack on our democracy.
How?
So
how is it an attack on democracy? Like, this is the thing, like, Nick Fuentes does this all the time. Like, he doesn't even try to explain. If you listen to, like Ben Shapiro or, like, Tucker Carlson or somebody like that, they will at least try to give some kind of horseshit rationale for the shit that they believe. They'll at least try to come up with something. Ben Shapiro, at the very least, will try to come up with some fucking stupid reason. Whether it'll be like, maybe some really thin, ridiculous reason that makes no fucking sense or whatever. But at least it's some kind of cover for what he believes. He'll try to do that. But Fuentes here isn't doing shit. He's not explaining why. How is it an attack on on democracy for someone who broke the law to be held accountable? So what if 75 million people voted for him? He lost. He got the least amount of votes in both of those elections, right? So what is he trying to say? Is he trying to say that, just because somebody's popular, that means you don't hold him accountable? So if you're popular, that means you get to break the law, right? Because that's all that really means right there. 75 million people voted for him. So that means he no longer has to follow the law anymore at all? So he can just do whatever the fuck he wants? Like, how does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. It's like the thinnest of rationalizations, right? But people are going to repeat this shit. People are going to take what this fucking moron just said and repeat it all over. I'm already seeing it. I'm already seeing people use this line of attack. It's an attack on democracy defense when they defend Donald Trump, but they can't explain how is it an attack on democracy. I mean, if Joe Biden did the same thing, wouldn't you want him, like, held accountable, right? Aren't they, like, up in arms about, like, Joe fucking Biden, like Hunter Biden's stupid fucking laptop and all that stuff. Business deals with Burisma, and they want to impeach Biden over that. They want to throw the Biden crime family in jail for that. I mean, how come it's okay to like prosecute one president but not another one? I mean, would I give a shit if Joe Biden went to prison? Did he actually break the law? Did he? Yes or no? Then you know what? When he's no longer president, right? Since we've already established that we're not going to indict a sitting president, I don't agree with that shit either, but whatever. But since we've already established that, then the minute he's not president, then yeah, throw his ass in jail. Did he break the law? Yes or no? Yes? Throw him in jail. Right? It's cult of personality. It's this bullshit cult of personality that they've built up around Trump, where it's like the thinnest fucking rationalization. I mean, he's not even trying to give a rationalization here. He's not. He's not. He's had. He's just repeating the same shit over and over again. Tell us why, Nick. Please tell me why.
Disagree with the premise. The only thing that a president should ever be charged for, ever, is things like corruption, treason, murder, and even then, I would even say maybe not even murder.
So the only things a president should be charged for are these things, except no, maybe not those things as well. Because what he is being charged with is corruption. It is highly corrupt to pay off a porn star that you were banging while your wife was pregnant with your son, and shortly after she gave birth to him. It is highly corrupt to pay her off so that she doesn't ruin your election chances, and then use your lawyer to do that 2 weeks before an election, and then try to get your company to pay for it instead of paying for it yourself. Right? And then misreporting that shit is highly, highly, highly corrupt to do that. That kind of sounds like the definition of corruption. And then to lie about it and stuff. So, but no, you just heard it there, folks. Nick Fuentes thinks the president should be allowed to murder somebody and get away with it. Not even murder, right? What if Joe Biden murdered somebody? Would you want him held accountable? What if Joe Biden went up national TV, took a pistol out of his back of his back pocket there, walked up to the Secretary of Defense on live TV and just shot him in the face? Do you think Joe Biden should be held accountable for that? Do you think Joe Biden should be put on trial for that? I mean, according to Nick Fuentes, no, not even murder. No. President can kill anybody he wants. He's the president. He's the sovereign of this country. Right. Such fucking bullshit. Moving on.
The only crimes a president should be charged for are crimes against the country, because at that point you've ascended to a different level. It's not to say that the president's better than us. It's not to say that he's above the law, but it is to say that he becomes a part of the fabric of the society. He embodies the society. And when the president embodies the American society for 4 years, the idea that that just goes away, and it's like, well, I'm back to reality now. What's next? Are we not going to give former presidents Secret Service protection?
All right, that's fucking bullshit. The president does not embody the society. He's treating Trump like a king, is what he's trying to say. Okay. That's what he's basically doing here. He's trying to claim that Donald Trump is the embodiment of America. That's the dumbest fucking shit ever. It's like sort of saying the Victorian age, like Queen Victoria was the embodiment of England during this age or something like that. But no, presidents are not kings. They're not sovereigns. They don't fucking own the country. They're not appointed by God to rule over us. They're elected, right? So that's bullshit to begin with. They don't embody the United States at all. The United States didn't suddenly turn into fucking Trump land the minute that he got elected. That's dumb. I mean, I guess I'm trying to even struggle trying to come up with any kind of way that that makes sense at all. Like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I was trying to think, like, maybe he's talking about eras. Maybe he means, like, like we had the Reagan era and the Clinton era and the Obama era. No, that doesn't make any sense either. That's stupid and dumb, and it's the dumbest fucking shit, like, ever. Like, presidents are not, that we vote for them, for fuck's sake, right? They're not like, they're not like appointed by God. They're not like manifested with like a halo around them descending from the sky and like, with people worshiping them and shit like that. It's like, no, we vote for this motherfucker. And half the country didn't even vote for his ass. The majority of the country didn't even vote for his ass. In Donald Trump's case, twice. Both of his elections, the majority of the country didn't even vote for him. So why the fuck is he? How the fuck does he embody the country if he didn't even get the most fucking votes? I don't understand this shit. This is like shit that a teenager would say, or a religious fanatic. Moving on.
Protection? Oh, well, if the president gets punched in a 7-Eleven, well, hey, he's just an ordinary citizen. Of course not. The president can't drive after he leaves office. The president gets a pension. The president gets Secret Service detail. And he shouldn't be charged with stupid crimes like this because
Yeah, but all right, wait. Okay, because he's gonna say it. He's gonna tell us why. Why?
once you become the president, you never unbecome the president. Once you capture 25% of the population voting for you, 60 million, 75 million votes, and then you go out and represent the American nation to the world and domestically, you then are entitled to live in esteem for the rest of your life. And that
Okay. You literally become unbecome the president as soon as your term is over. Right? That's what he said. He just said you literally don't you don't unbecome the president. That is not true. You literally unbecome the president as soon as your term is over with. You are no longer the president. Right? That is how it works. You have 4 years to be the president. Right? So if you want to make the argument that you don't charge a sitting president, right, then you have 4 years to do whatever the fuck you want. But after those 4 years are up, that's over. Right? Anything that you did when you were not the president, you're on the hook for. Just being the president doesn't mean that you have like a get out of jail free card for the rest of your fucking life. Doesn't mean you're allowed to commit crimes forever. And any crime that you committed before you were president, that's still there. Right? I don't even agree that you should be able to get away with like crimes you committed as the president. I don't believe that shit either. I mean, if I was running thing, there would be some kind of way of holding Donald Trump, accountable for all the shit that he did while he was president. In particular, the whole like, I don't know, having people stay at his own hotels, right? The grifting like crazy that he did while he was the president. That shit shouldn't be allowed. And I'll fucking die on that hill. I'll talk about that shit until the day I die. Like, he would book not just, foreign dignitaries and stuff and make shitload of money that way. He would, like, book official functions at his own hotels. And, there was an instance where Mike Pence went to Ireland and drove 50 miles to stay at a Trump hotel when he could have just stayed at another hotel. And then all that got charged to the government. And, like, shit like that. Like, what's it called? The emoluments clause. That's actually in the Constitution. You're not allowed to do that. Other people in the government lose their jobs for shit like that, but not Donald Trump. Got away with it scot fucking free. All right, so if you're talking about shit that Trump did as president, at the very least, grifting like fucking crazy should be accounted among that. But no, you don't get, you're not just suddenly free to fucking like break every fucking law in the world just because you're a president for 4 years. That's bullshit. Complete and total fucking horseshit, man. Moving on here.
That's for the dignity of the office. That is for the dignity of the voters. That is for the dignity of the nation. But we have lost any semblance of that kind of idea. And I would challenge people to think about.
Yeah, we should never have that kind of idea to begin with. President should never be above the law to begin with. That should never be an idea, right? President should be held accountable just like everybody fucking else, because he's just a normal person. At the end of the day, he's just another guy, right? Jimmy Carter is just another guy. Bill Clinton, just another guy, right? Barack Obama, just another guy. You know, nobody would be making these excuses for those people, right? Somehow Donald Trump gets to get away with fucking everything in the world, right? Somehow Donald Trump gets to become the fucking emperor of the United States. It's like, bullshit, no. We don't have kings in the United States. We don't have emperors. We don't have royalty. That's the whole point of this country in the first place, is that we're equal. Anybody conceivably, that's the idea, anybody conceivably can be the president. That's what they tell you when you're, of course it's bullshit in real life, that doesn't happen. But, that's what they tell you when you're in first grade or whatever. You can grow up, and if you try really hard and turn in your homework on time and shit like that, you can become president too, right? How the fuck is it divinely inspired if literally anybody in the country can do it? Supposedly. Right? Fucking bullshit. Moving on.
About this. Because according to our idea of what our country is, then we should agree with Destiny, and we should agree with Kamala Harris, and we should agree with Tim Pool. And we...
All right. Now he just gets boring as fuck here. We're going to skip ahead to around 37. Because now Nick Fuentes is going to talk about equality. So let's see what he's got to say about equality here.
To think that logically, according to our self-conception as a democratic nation, we're a nation of laws. And according to the logical, consistent approach to this, we would say something like, no president should be above the law. At the same time, I think we find the idea repugnant that he wouldn't be above the law.
I like how he at least has to admit that. Kind of like he knows what he's saying is bullshit, right? Oh, we find the idea repugnant that he's above the law. Yes. Yes, we do. I mean, I'm not the only one out there who thinks that, right? Please tell me I'm not the only one who thinks that it's repugnant, that the idea that the president gets to get out of jail free card for the rest of his fucking life just for being president for 4 years. Please tell me I'm not the only one who thinks that, right? So, okay, well, give me the explanation. Looks like Nick Fuentes acknowledges that what he thinks is fucking ridiculous and repugnant to the average person. So tell us why, Nick. Tell us why you're right and I'm wrong.
And so we need to rethink our institutions and that first principle of equality and all these kinds of things, because in our heart of hearts, we know it just isn't so.
So he doesn't say why. He doesn't say why he's correct. He doesn't say why it's okay for a president to be above the law. Right? He just says we need to rethink equality. So the reason why I'm wrong then is because equality is wrong. So we're not equal in this country, right? Is that what I'm supposed to believe here? So is it because Donald Trump is intrinsically better than me? That's why he gets to get away with it? So basically what he's saying is if we were to take me and then Donald Trump, and we were to take away all of Donald Trump's money, all of Donald Trump's privileges, all of Donald Trump's advantages that he has, all of his cash, and we were to put him and me in a room together, decide which one of us is better. And then we could say, well, somehow something about him makes him better than me. Something about us, even though if I take away all of his money, all of his power, all of that stuff, he's still somehow better than me. That we're not equal people, right? Like the minute Donald Trump was born and the minute I was born, and we're babies. Somehow him being a 1 hour year old baby makes him superior to me being a 1 hour baby. That's what Nick Fuentes is trying to tell us. Somehow, was he just born with it? Is it some kind of intrinsic quality? Is it divine? Is he divinely inspired? Is that what it is? Is it the divine right of kings? Is that why Donald Trump is just better than everybody else? Why he gets to fucking break the law, right? Because equality apparently is an illusion, and we all know it on the inside, is what Nick was trying to tell us. Okay, let's move on.
And we know it's not right. We
Somehow.
know there is something not noble, and there is something offensive, and there's something that is contrary to the spirit of having a society. That the national leader, the world leader, Donald Trump, 75 years old, would be thrown in front of a court like this over a misdemeanor, over a scandal.
Donald Trump is no longer the leader. He seems to be kind of forgetting that fact. When Donald Trump was the leader, he was not arrested for his crimes. He was not held accountable for his crimes. We have decided, right or wrong, that that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to indict a sitting president. Donald Trump is not the leader of the country. He is no longer the president, right? He is not in any position of power whatsoever when it comes to the government. He's got his own power still in the political establishment. That's definitely true. He's running to be the president, but he's no longer the actual president. He doesn't get to say anything. He doesn't sign any laws. He doesn't make any policy. He doesn't do executive orders, right? He's not in charge of anything at all. He's not the leader. Why does he get it to get away with fucking breaking the law? Explain this to me. So far, I haven't heard any explanation. The only explanation Nick Fuentes has given so far for his view that that an ex-president who was not the leader should be able to get away with breaking the law, is that equality is an illusion. That's the only explanation. The only thing that even comes close to an explanation. That it's because equality is fake. That we're not actually all born equal. All right. I think I agree with him. I agree with him when he says that most people find this view despicable. I definitely agree with that. I find this view to be utterly fucking despicable. I can't believe that we're even entertaining this. Right? But people will entertain it. That's the thing. That's what we need to understand. Right? Him saying this means that there will now be thousands of people out there pushing this idea on social media. Right? In an attempt to change the Overton window to allow Donald Trump to get away with breaking the law. That's what it is. He's influencing public opinion here. People listen to this asshole. You got to keep that in mind. Moving on.
Scandals like this, for a king, you forget them. Corruption, treason, he should be beheaded.
Donald Trump is not a king. Scandals like this for a king, you forget them. He is not a king. The president is not a king. The president does not have the same powers that a king. If you're the king of a country, you could do whatever you want. Right? Up to and including killing people and murdering people, taking their land, raping people, all of that stuff. Owning slaves. Those kings can do that, right? When you're a king and you have absolute power, then you're allowed to do whatever you want. Presidents, even when they are the sitting president, do not have absolute power. If a president, if the president of the United States, like let's say you own a coffee shop and the president of the United States shows up and you don't like him, you can tell him to get fucked. It's like he shows up and he's like, "Hey, we want to do a photo shoot here." You could tell him to get bent. Be like, "No, I don't like you. I didn't vote for your ass. Fuck you. Get out of my coffee shop." And there's nothing they can do about it. It's not like they could just requisition your coffee shop and use it for their purposes and then leave. A king can do that. A king can go into your business, into your house, into your business and be like, "Yeah, this belongs to me now. Get out." And not have to pay you for it, not have to do shit for it, and you have to fucking do what they say. In fact, there's a provision in the Constitution about quartering soldiers. Why do you think that's in there? That's a very specific, thing in the Bill of Rights, saying we will not, in time of peace, we will not quarter soldiers, right? Why is that in there? Because that's a thing that the King of England used to do. King of England used to say, "Hey, your private property is now ours, and you're gonna let these soldiers hang out in your house, and if you don't like it, we're gonna fucking hang you," right? You know, that was specifically put in there to stop that as an early form of property rights, right? Because back in in the monarchy, normal people didn't have property rights, right? You belonged to the king. Well, no. President, you don't fucking belong to the president, right? President just doesn't get to decree shit and have it happen, right? The president's not a king. When the president breaks the law, he's a normal fucking person just like everybody else, right? He should be held accountable, and he should especially be held accountable when he's no longer the president anymore, right? It's the most backwards, ridiculous fucking bullshit ever. And people listen to this fucking guy. Moving on.
But a scandal like this should be forgotten. It should never be spoken of, let alone talked about in the press. That's my opinion of the matter.
Yeah, fuck your opinion. One little thing I want to move on before we close this, right? Because this all sounds familiar, right? I want to skip ahead about 3 minutes until Nick Fuentes can finally get to his point. So right around here, let's say what he's got to say. Right around there. He's finally going to come to a point here.
Open. You've got 250,000 people every month walk across the border, and a percentage of them don't even see a Border Patrol agent. And when they do get caught, they get released.
Of course, that's another thing when you get to these guys. They always have to bring up the border, even when they're talking about things like, say, the president breaking the law. They always have to, mix in their little pet fucking causes into it. And one of Nick Fuentes' pet causes is, of course, immigration, because, white nationalist, white supremacist. I don't know. Actually, no. Technically, he's not a white nationalist. He doesn't want to start his own white homeland. He wants to get rid of all of the non-white people in the United States, right? So that's why he's a fucking white supremacist. So I love how, and you notice, they all kind of do that. Every time you get Lauren Boebert who talks, every time Marjorie Taylor Greene talks, every time fucking this guy Nick Fuentes or fucking Charlie Kirk, every time they talk, they always somehow manage to work either abortion or illegal immigration into what they're saying. And it doesn't matter what the fuck they're talking about. They could be talking about a farm bill they'll work it in. Right now we're talking about, the president being arrested, they work it in. It's uncanny. There's one thing you got to hand it to Republicans to the GOP, to conservatives. One thing they're really good at is staying on message. And I think that's a lesson we could take from them. Learn how to stay on message. Maybe we should work in global fucking climate change into every single thing we're talking about. Maybe we should do that just to kind of remind people that, hey, that's a thing that's out there, global climate change. We're all going to die in about, 20 years or so. Remember that. Anyway, moving on.
So things that will get you in trouble: being the president and falsifying a business document 10 years ago. Things that will not get you in trouble: murder, grand theft auto, coming into America illegally, even surrendering to Border Patrol as you come across legally, being a drug dealer.
Yeah, those are all things people get in trouble for all the time, constantly. Literally millions of people every day get in trouble for those things. Literally millions of people get deported every single day for entering the country illegally. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are in jail for dealing drugs, for murder. I don't know why he just... I think, when it comes to conservatives, anything short of standing at the border with a rifle and shooting people as they try to walk over means that you're soft on immigration. That's what he's really talking about. What does he really want when it comes to immigration? He wants people to stand at the border and kill them. That's what they want. That's what he wants. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene wants when they talk about we need to enforce our borders. They want armed guards at the borders with guns, shooting people that try to walk over. Anything short of that means you're soft on immigration, right? It doesn't matter how many people you deport. That doesn't fucking matter. Because they always say, oh, deportations, we deported 3 million people this year or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's what should be happening. That means 3 million people came over the border. We caught them. They got deported. You should be happy about that shit. But they always say that that's the bad thing. Why are there so many people being deported? It's like, because you fucking people want them to be deported. I thought you wanted people to be deported. Like, you see what I'm saying here, folks? It's just, it doesn't matter what you do. That's the thing. It doesn't matter, because these people are fascists, right? It doesn't matter how much you try to appease them. You will never appease the fascists, right? Ever. So don't try. Don't try to appease. And that's the thing that a big problem with Democratic politicians. They try to appease them all the time. Well, Biden keeps fucking Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, for example, right? Barack Obama deported more people than any other president before him, yet they still called him, weak on the border. Joe Biden keeps Title 42 alive and active for months and months and months after, and he still continue. The pandemic is they stop spending on the pandemic, shit like that. They still keep Title 42 open, stuff like that. They still call him weak on the border. Like they still continued building Trump's wall after Biden became president. Parts of the wall, they maintain it now. They still call him soft on the border, right? Even if you build a 50-foot fucking wall with barbed wire and a moat filled with piranha, right? They'll still call him soft on the border, right? Because what they want is guys with guns shooting people. That's what they want. They want people to be killed, right? They want border guards. They want it to be like fucking East Germany. That's what they want. There was a wall separating East and West Germany too. And if you try to cross that wall, you got shot. Well, you got shot trying to leave East Germany. That's the difference. The difference there is that you were totally cool. You could enter West Germany all you wanted. But if you tried to leave, they shot you. Right. That's what they want. They want a fucking border wall with machine gun nests ready to kill anyone that tries to enter. Anything short of that, they're going to call you, because they're fascists. Let's just call it for what it is. They're fascists. In fact, I think Nick Fuentes might have something to say about fascism here pretty soon.
This is our problem. And by the way, this is why you get fascism. This is why you need fascism. Okay?
I cheated, of course. I knew he was going to say that, because I pre-screened this. This is why you need fascism. Please tell us why we need fascism, Nick Fuentes.
I don't call myself a fascist, but that's fundamentally what this is about.
Uh-huh. Oh, this is why you need fascism. I don't call myself a fascist. Yeah, okay. You don't call yourself it, but you are one. Why? I don't... First, who is he trying to kid? Right there. I don't even know why... he's still... that's the thing. This guy is not an idiot. I think Nick Fuentes is smarter than Ben Shapiro. I think he is. I think he's more media savvy right? He knows how far he can push it. I like that screen grab that I got of him right there, right? He knows exactly how far he can push it. He knows exactly what his audience wants. He's very, very media savvy. He's not an idiot. The things he believes are fucking stupid, right? His bullshit justifications for this shit, for his dumb shit, is stupid. The president is sovereign and all that, that's fucking dumb as hell. It doesn't make any fucking sense, right? Probably couldn't debate, if you were actually put his ideas up against anybody else, they would fall apart in a nanosecond because they don't make any sense because they're dumb as hell. But he himself is not dumb. He's actually very, very media savvy. He knows exactly what buttons to press. He knows exactly where to push it. He knows exactly where to give himself plausible deniability. And that's what he's doing here. Because Nick Fuentes, his ultimate dream, Nick Fuentes, is to become somebody important. What he wants to do is he wants to be that kingmaker kind of guy, right? He wants to be the guy that politicians have to go to get his blessing in order to run for office, right? I don't think Nick Fuentes ever wants to actually be a politician or a president or a senator or something like that. Never actually wants to do that himself because that requires work. That requires scrutiny. That requires running for office. That would mean that people would have to pay attention to who he is. And he wouldn't be able to say the shit that he says because he would never get elected in a million years. And he knows it. He knows that if he actually ran for office, he would get squashed. Because all of this video of him saying this ridiculous Nazi shit for years on end would come out. And he would get crushed like a bug. And it would be humiliating and a giant waste of money. And a huge fucking blow to his ego, and he knows it, and that's why he's never. And plus, it requires work. And what if you actually do get elected, right? Then he's gonna have to work. This guy doesn't want to work, right? This guy wants to get on YouTube, get on Rumble. I guess he's not on YouTube anymore. This is Rumble, and he wants to spew a bunch of stupid shit. And that's the extent of his fucking work. He doesn't want to actually have to like pass laws or anything like that. He wants to be an influencer, a talking head kind of guy. Somebody who just says shit, like Rush Limbaugh was. That's what he wants to be. He wants to be like Rush Limbaugh. He wants to make a shitload of money, spewing a bunch of hatred and racist bullshit all over the airwaves, right? And he wants to make it so that politicians have to come to him, that his audience is so big that politicians have to come to him, right? In order to get his blessing to win. That's what he wants, right? That's what he's trying to do. That's why he's having, he has his alternative CPAC called APAC or whatever, the America First PAC, right? He's got that. That's why he's got politicians on the phone with him. Marjorie Taylor Greene hanging out with him, although apparently she hates him now, right? But that's why she's showing up at his fucking at his gatherings and stuff, trying to get his audience, right? That's what he wants. He wants to be like, that's what Charlie Kirk wants too. Charlie Kirk seems to be a little bit more influential than him, right? He wants to be those kinds of guys that, he can go around and raise a whole shitload of money just by going on the air. So people will pay him to say the shit that he says, right? And that way he can make a fucking career grifting millions of dollars from being a hateful fucking bigot asshole that ruins people's lives with his bullshit. He doesn't want to actually do any of the work himself. Fuck that. Who wants that kind of aggravation? So, he knows exactly how to do it, too. He's very, very media savvy when it comes to that. So, this guy right here is the future of the Republican Party, right? Him and Charlie Kirk and Ali Alexander and Milo Yiannopoulos. These are the guys who 10, 20 years from now are going to be calling the shots there. You need to be aware of these guys. This is what I'm talking. And they're mask-off fascists. If you think fascism can't happen in this country, you're wrong. Okay? Not that. Let's turn this fucking asshole off. I can't listen to any more of them. How do I get out of this? Okay. Reduce that shit. Turn that off. Not that long ago, somebody like Nick Fuentes would be laughed off the air. He would have been the biggest joke ever. Not that long ago. This guy he's starting to get political power now. 25 years ago, he'd be a fringe nobody. Like, speaking on fucking like, public access TV or something. Sending out a newsletter, chain emails or some shit like that. Selling overpriced fucking video cassettes of him ranting and raving about how the Jews run everything. That's what this guy would have been 25 years ago. And thanks to the internet and thanks to 25 years of relentless fear mongering from the right wing, the Overton window has been pushed so far right that this guy is almost fucking mainstream. He's hanging out with ex-presidents. He had dinner with Donald Trump, for fuck's sake. Right? He's hanging out with Kanye West. Kanye West, the fucking, probably the most famous hip-hop artist in the world. I mean, up until recently. Up until he went crazy. Right? Started screaming about how Jews were, Jews and shit like that. Up until then, probably the most famous and most successful hip-hop artist in the world. He's hanging out with this guy, right? He's getting senators and fucking House representatives coming and talking to him. Mainstream people that are like, have access to the keys to industry and the levers of power. Marjorie Taylor Greene is like prominent now. She was a nobody for 2 years. Then the Republicans took over. Now they put her on all these committees and shit. She's making decisions that are going to affect your life, whether you like it or not. You gotta be aware of these people, man. You gotta be aware of these people. You can't ignore these guys. Ignore these people at your peril. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.